it looks like we have a an intimate group this evening, which means you get a lot of time to hit me up for some knowledge. So, uh, anybody is willing, they can just jump right in and start asking me some questions. So, I am at your service.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Bill, or is that just a
Okay.
thumbs up? Yes, Bill.
Yeah, I've been thinking back a few weeks ago, you talked about the difference between public narrators and private narrators.
Yes.
And I'm getting more and more into audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also getting involved, and I know those are public
That's how I
narrators.
classify them. Yes.
And I'm also um, working on getting involved in radio drama.
Hmm. Okay.
Now, is radio drama going to be a public thing, or is that still kind of a private thing?
I consider it a public thing because your name is listed in publicly listed in the credits.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. Well, I'm in the process of redoing my website.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm gonna create a landing page for my audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be real specialized just for audiobooks and all that kind of stuff.
That's a good idea.
So, in terms of my social media stuff, I'm
Mm.
still a voice artist and I'm doing other things, but do I just really need to put the audiobooks out front on those social media things and
Okay.
push that, or what
So
do you
let's
how would you
okay. Well,
orient those?
let me zoom out and just give you a little a broader perspective when it comes to what you're talking about, which are indirect marketing strategies. Because like
Right.
direct marketing strategies is like cold calls and cold emails, targeting individual desired clients or
Like
contacts or
authors or publishers.
publishers where you're
Yeah.
contact them and say, "Hey, you, I want you to give money to say your stuff out loud,"
Yeah.
as opposed to indirect marketing strategies where you are it's which is also known as passive marketing, which you're just doing your thing and then hoping that it gets somebody's attention, right? Blogging is one example of that. Going to a conference or a networking event or a workshop. But social media, to your point, Bill, is definitely a form of indirect marketing. So I go by the 80-20 rule when it comes to content, which is about 80% of all of your content should be personable or personal, and the other 20% should be promotional or professional. Um, because it gets really old when people just post nothing but self aggrandizing stuff. It gets really old real fast, and people will pay no attention to you because the only person that you're paying attention to is you. And that's a turnoff for a lot of people.
Hmm.
So the 80% personable or personal, what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Personable, I mean, here's the goofy example I always give. You pick up a copy of People magazine, and on the cover it's got Brad Pitt, and
Of course.
it says get to know Brad Pitt. And you read this article, and it's like Brad Pitt has three dogs. Brad Pitt has likes pizza. It's like, okay, are you really getting to know him? No, you're getting to know these like little bullet point goofy things. Maybe he likes a particular band. Maybe he likes to crochet. Like whatever. But these are things to make him more personable, to make him more likable, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan
It's part
of
of image.
image PR. Yeah, you can kind of clump that into that thing.
Okay.
But it is and it can be. Like for example, like just coincidentally, I'm wearing a Martian Manhunter t-shirt because that's just what I'm wearing today because I haven't left the house. And Martian Manhunter is my favorite superhero, and I'm also producing a comic book. I've been collecting the Justice League comic books since I was in grade school. Da 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 da. So that's a little geeky thing, a little geeky nerd thing, you know. So
Hmm.
that's like and I play this strategy tabletop game called Hero Clicks, and like here's Wonder Woman, and I build these teams and I roll the dice, and me and my buddies beat the crap out of each other. We have a grand old time.
You are a nerd.
Uh, no, I'm a geek.
A geek, sorry. A geek.
Geeks get it done.
Ah.
Geeks are
Okay.
socially well adjusted. Geeks have a social life. Geeks can look
Ah.
you in the eye and talk to you. Nerds are these like, shriveled up little wallflowers in the corner. I'm very and I learned that from the old cyber czar of I think it was the Obama administration. because like Stephen Colbert had him on the show, and he's like, as a nerd, he's like, no, 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 because this guy, he was a paisan wearing like a striped suit. He's like, no, 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 I am not a nerd. I am a geek. Geeks get it done. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I
Noted.
can, I
Noted.
can, I can connect with that. You know what I
I
mean?
hear you.
I mean, well, you've heard the term geek chic. It's a thing. You know what I mean? Where you're like, it's a style and a lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I shared all that stuff with you, Bill. Great. But do you know my politics? Do you know my religion? Do you know about any of my personal, physical, or psychological struggles? No. That's all over
I've
there.
just heard rumors, but yeah.
As yeah, and they're all true. Um, so that can and should be, I think, a chunk. So, like for example, as an audiobook narrator, if you love everything about the Civil War, I mean, besides obviously the death and the horribleness of it, but like if you've gone to Antietam and you've toured Gettysburg and you've got a wall full of biographies of Lincoln and Grant and McClellan, and Pickett and
Well,
all
I
of
am
the
from the South, so
well, okay. Well, there's a bit of a but
just
I'm just saying,
kidding.
but like to say that and to be like you're geeked out, you're geeked about the Civil War, like I'm geeked out about Martian Manhunter, like somebody else is geeked out about NASA and astronomy. Like
Mhm.
lean into that. Have fun with it because not only is it personable and it's like, oh cool, Bill likes that. Hey, guess what? I like that too.
Yeah.
And guess what? If Bill is all things Civil War, guess what happens next time that biography of General McClellan comes up? Guess who they're
Mhm.
more likely to cast? Now, are you an actual general or this or that? No, but part of the authenticity and inclusionary, diversity thing,
Mhm.
it kind of piggybacks on that because like if you live and breathe the Civil War and you're going to narrate a book about Civil War, your passion's going to come through and they're going to love that. So that makes you more castable. So personable is good because it
Yeah.
also it humanizes you as well, but in like sort of this like surface level thing, like meet Brad Pitt thing. So with the personal stuff, that's a whole other conversation, and everybody has their comfort zone with that. Are you comfortable with talking about any of your physical or psychological struggles? Do you have a child on the autism spectrum? Do you struggle with ADHD? Were your grandparents Holocaust survivors? You know, these are things that when you talk about this, it is extremely humanizing. It is extremely engaging. And again, it can also increase your castability for various subjects. Because again, if you struggle
Mhm.
with ADHD, who's more qualified to play a character in a fiction audiobook who struggles with ADHD, or it's a nonfiction book and it's a more of a clinical study of ADHD. Who's more
Mhm.
qualified? You are qualified to narrate that. So yes, you see all the audio people every Tuesday. It's release day, and they post their stuff, or they post a cover, or hey, I won an award. This is my first audiobook. This is my 50th audiobook. This is my 100th audiobook. Those are great things to post, but they can't be the only things that you post.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll give you one other story about this is that when COVID hit, I was in the middle of narrating a book called The Long Distance Teammate. And when it released, I think it was fall 2020 or early 2021. It's like right in the middle of it. So I sent an email to every client I've ever had regardless of genre. And I said, look, I know a lot of you are stuck at home now because of COVID. You've never worked at home before and it's freaking you out. You don't know what to do. I narrated this book called The Long Distance Teammate, and it gives you working from home strategies and how to make sure that if you are working from home, how to make sure you still get recognized for promotions, raises, and recognition. And I sent that to everybody because it wasn't about, oh, look at me and how awesome I am saying these words. It's no, this is content of value for you
Yeah. Great timing for that kind of book.
and great timing for that. It's funny because the authors, even before they finished it, they rewrote some of it in, really because it was just a coincidence that it was coming out
Yeah.
at that time. You know what I mean? And the amount of responses I got from like clients I've worked with years ago said, Tom, thank you so much. I really needed this book. And like I was having long exchanges with people I haven't talked to in years, because I was doing something like that, because I was demonstrating value, not my value, but the content's value that I happened to narrate.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Cool.
totally.
All right. Cool. Anybody else? Other
Good example.
questions? Sure.
There we go. Couldn't get.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. So that also was coincidental because as you said, it did apply. So if this was something about, a mystery novel, yeah, that would have been nice. It's something to do.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been as advantageous.
Potent.
Yeah.
Hey, are you stuck at home? Stuck at home because of COVID? Listen to my audiobook. It's kind of a marketing thing, but like you could do it, but I wouldn't do it more than once. And if you do it, make sure it's a really good freaking book.
So essentially, that's kind of all on Facebook that you have the one account and that you've sort of matched. I'm like you though too. It's not that I do that much posting. I probably should do more. I'm working on that. But
Mm-hmm.
so the Instagram and Facebook are more so that, but you're not going to really do that on LinkedIn.
Why not?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
the mystique that LinkedIn is all professional is completely shot. It's completely gone because
Oh,
now,
okay.
because of our new president, I have seen more political, ranty, angry, controversial posts on LinkedIn that I ever have before, and before I had seen none of them. So also a lot of people have fled Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter because of all of the whatever's that's been going on. Like people have been leaving those four platforms and they're getting their angst out on LinkedIn and other places. So, also all of the Facebook platforms are so diluted and they're so watered down because they're so desperate to compete with everybody that most of them have lost any sense of distinction. You know what I mean? Because you can post text and photos and video on all of them now. And that's not what most of them were designed for. They were designed to do one of those things. And now they all do all of those things to keep up with everybody. You know what I mean?
Well, wouldn't you say though, especially with any of the social medias,
Mm-hmm.
I know people sort of air their dirty laundry on there too, but I,
Yes.
I almost feel like it's like a teacher. You should never know which way they fall
Mm.
politically. And I just wonder if that's really, I mean, it could be a disadvantage, wouldn't it be?
To post your political
Yeah.
whatevers. If you're a normal 9 to 5 employee who is not a public figure, yeah, go crazy, post whatever
Right.
you want,
What I'm
because the
talking
vast
about.
majority of people that are going to be posting some kind of extreme content one way or the other probably lives in an environment where nobody cares, or you'd better be posting content like that. You better toe the party line or
Mhm.
of your PTA or of your place of worship if you're doing that. For us, that could be a big problem.
Yeah.
Um, but the overwhelming majority of the arts, the performing arts, people involved in the performing arts and voiceovers no succession is generally leans left,
Mhm.
which makes sense just because of the nature of the expression, independent self-realization, self-actualization, having to do this and that.
Right.
That's just kind of how it goes. It's probably how it's always gone in every society. But for us voice actors, I I mean, if I could probably count on three fingers the amount of political posts I've done, and I can think of two of them off the top of my head. You know what I mean? Because like I don't go there, but there are other people that I know
Yeah. I
in the
see that.
voiceover who post scathing political posts multiple times a day, and that's fine. And if they want to do that, that's totally cool. I would like to think that a professional, quote unquote, professional voice seeker wouldn't care about that stuff. It's like, hey, I don't care what they post. Can they get me the files in the correct format on time?
Right.
You know what I mean? Not that I don't care what your politics are, but the client, unless the way that they are comporting themselves has the potential to damage the reputation or finances of the client in question. You know what I mean? So if somebody is who is extremely vocal on social media about their left-leaning ideologies, probably isn't going to voice a spot for my pillow.
Right.
It's probably just not going to happen. So, and if you're comfortable with, having the potential to lose various types of work, that's totally cool. But how many people do you know that are in the voiceover industry that say, I'll never do a political spot? Because they consciously are choosing to deny themselves various aspects, various revenue streams in the voiceover industry. So it's different. It's different for everybody. The comfort zone of, like I was saying to Bill, posting personal content versus personable content. Politics, religion, physical or mental struggles that you're having. And if you don't want to do any of that and just, be a personal Brad Pitt likes pizza guy, that's totally fine too. Because 99% of the time, it's really not going to matter, because most of the voice seekers aren't paying a damn bit of attention to anything that we're doing on social media anyway. They don't
Right.
care because they're too busy posting their content in a desperate need to get people to like, engage, and share with their stuff